Happy Canada Day, everyone. So glad that you're here to join me. Just taking a quick look. There's a couple of people waiting online, which is very cool. It's about 5 p.m. in New Zealand, and I made a all right, shut down some of the excess noise that's going on. So I made a quick list of some of the time zones. Forgive me if I get some of this wrong. Just taking a quick look. I see that Ava spoke to me on YouTube is watching from Japan, and it's 2 p.m. there. Very cool. Welcome. I'm not sure if you're still watching or not. Ava spoke to me, but that's very cool. I lived in Japan myself for close to 10 years. This is a long time ago. I'm surprised. Is there a way to get cheese curds in Japan, or do you make it yourself? I'd love to know about that. So super excited that you can join us here. Happy Canada Day to everyone that's able to join us. If you scroll down to the description of the very close, I guess the middle, or I'm sorry, because it's about 2/3 of the way down the description of the video, you'll also see a link to our Zoom, which we've got set up here. You can see that there. So if you'd like to join in on the conversation, there's room for up to 100 on Zoom. So feel free to join in there. Would love to have you. Anybody can join in, or feel free to type away in YouTube with the comment if you might have one. Super excited again to be able to do this. Possibly the world's first Global Canada Day. And it behooves us in this day to, first of all, recognize that we're recording this or broadcasting this from the unceded lands of the Songhees Nation on Vancouver Island, otherwise known as Victoria. Very excited to be able to do this. So again, welcome to everybody. So I see that there's a couple of people that have joined us. Would love to hear where you're from. Got the comment section there. Happy Canada Day from Doha. Fantastic. Welcome. That's amazing. That's one area that I have not been. I've had the luxury, if you will, to be able to visit many places around the world, but have not been to Doha, anywhere in the UAE or in the Middle East at all, which I think I'll have to remedy that for sure. Welcome and happy Canada Day. Any plans? It's still, if you're in Doha, it must be still fairly early in the morning. What is it? Around 9 a.m. for you? Is that correct? Good morning. Have a very happy day. Hope everything works well. I'm not sure what you have planned. Would love to hear what sort of plans you do have for Canada Day. It's 8 a.m. Right. Okay. Perfect. Would love to hear about your Canada Day story. I can tell you one of my stories. When I was living in Japan, this was going back quite a while ago, almost 20 years ago, be 2001, I guess. I was living in a very small area just outside of a city called Takayama, but it's in the mountains. It's a gorgeous little area. And while I was there, I was working with the, very hot. Oh, very cool. Because I was working very closely with the Canadian consulate in Nagoya, which is not that far from Takayama, I was able to obtain a list of suppliers in Japan of Canadian goods. So Canadian beef, Canadian salmon, even found some Mott's Clamato juice. And in this little community, it was a village of about 4,000 people. we decided to hold a Canadian barbecue, which was a whole lot of fun. Oh, and Moosehead beer, we brought that in as well. So we were able to get Canadian beefs, Canadian salmon, Moosehead beer, Clamato juice, and of course, vodka. And we made Caesars for those people that wanted them. It was a whole lot of fun. And interestingly enough, the suppliers of those goods, they were kind enough in some cases to send some stuff, everything at cost, and in some cases free. I think we got the Mott's Clamato juice for free, which was good. I don't remember. I don't think Mott's is produced in Canada, but anyway, we were able to get that. It was funny. Of course, I was quite a bit younger than I am now. Wasn't all that aware of serve it right policies. And there was a few people who ended up getting quite drunk on Caesars. We made them double strong, I think. But anyway, it was a whole lot of fun. Here, so how hot is it in Doha right now? I'm not sure if you can't see on the YouTube, but if you're listening to us through Zoom, you can see it's night here in Victoria. It's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. We're looking at right now, probably I think around 13 degrees. It's a little bit cooler here in Victoria. But again, welcome to everybody that's joined us. See, there's got about 5 people on. Would love to hear where you are. It's 5 p.m., I believe, in New Zealand. So if you're from New Zealand, welcome. If you're from Australia, Japan, or anywhere else in the world, let us know where you're from. Fantastic. D, happy Canada Day to you too. Where in the Middle East are you located? And we're excited to have you back to Canada, of course. Let me know if you have any plans for Canada Day, any celebration at all. Dubai, very cool. 31 degrees in Doha. Dubai must be very similar in temperature, I would imagine. Super excited to have everybody here. Again, for those that want to join in on the conversation, if you have the inclination to, go into the description of the video and you can see our Zoom link, and you can join us live as well, talking to us through Zoom if you wish. There's a couple of things that I would really love to talk to everybody about and get some of your opinions and your thoughts about. One is, given the current atmosphere, given the number of things that are happening both in the US and in Canada in regards to some of the multicultural issues, I think it behooves us to talk a little bit about First Nations rights and First Nations awareness in Canada. But it would be very cool to find out what you think it might be like, or what possibilities there might be to help spread abroad, those people that don't live in Canada, information about First Nations culture or that awareness. I think there's a number of things. I was speaking with my daughter a short while ago, and we're talking about how there's very few people in Canada, even in Canada, that are really aware, and that's just starting to become aware of First Nations culture. And I think it would be incredibly powerful if Canadian expats began to look at possibilities to spread awareness about First Nations culture. But what does that look like? What would that look like to you? How would you go about spreading or talking about First Nations culture. And if there were tools that were required, what would you require to be able to do that? It would be amazing to hear your opinions about it. D, you immigrated to Canada in 1995, working abroad now. Canada's the most beautiful country in the world, especially Ottawa. Very cool. Ottawa is an amazing city. I live in Victoria. I'm broadcasting this from Victoria and love it. Just so that everybody's aware, I'm going to be here all night. It's 10 p.m. Here in Victoria, and I plan to be here until 10 p.m. tomorrow to try to truly capture a global Canada Day. So I really appreciate the fact that everybody's here. Do me a favor, if you have an opportunity, please hit the like button on the screen so that it sort of starts to rank, if you will, in the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm. We'll try to get as many people as we can. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, I'd love you to be able to do that. That would be amazing. We try to, as best we can anyway, to keep people up to date about things that are going on. We've had some information sessions from tax consultants in Toronto, that's Trowbridge, and an immigration consultant in Vancouver has assisted us as well by doing some videos. I'd love to know from you if there's anything else that you would want to see us provide to you in terms of useful information. That's certainly the goal of the Canadian Expat, is to be able to provide that. In this event, if you will, this Canada Day, we're super excited to be able to welcome everybody that's been joining us. Welcome again to the Canadian Expat Global Canada Day. And as far as I know, this is the first time that this is being attempted. For those that are just joining, if you scroll down partway in the description, you'll find the link to our Zoom feed, which is right there. Right now, it's just lonely me. So if you want to join me on Zoom, that'd be amazing. We'd love to be able to speak to you in person, or send us a comment through the live chat. Either way, we'd love to hear from you. We've heard from people from Dubai and Doha, and Japan as well. We'd love to know where you're from. It's 5 p.m. in New Zealand right now, and that was sort of the idea when decided to what time we're going to start this broadcast. Wanted to make it a time that wasn't too late on this side, but yet a good time for you, and picked New Zealand and their 5 p.m. as a great time, which is 10 p.m. here in Victoria. As I mentioned earlier, we're excited to be able to do this for everybody and welcome in Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to everyone. We are broadcasting from the unceded territories of the Songhees Nation in Victoria, on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, and excited that you're here to join us. Where are you from? Let us know. (2019) was a momentous year for the Canadian expat. We started in the year with some great things and ended up in January with the Supreme Court ruling in favor of the court case that was in front of the justices to allow Canadians who have lived abroad for longer than 5 years to be able to vote. And Would love to know if you voted in the last election. We had the distinct honor of acting as interveners in that case, and was very excited when we heard in January last year, 2019, that Canadians who are living abroad for longer than 5 years would be able to vote in the last election in October. So let us know. Did you vote? We did, of course, being in Canada. Love to know if you did too. We don't need to know who you voted for, but we'd love to know that you, if you or didn't, exercise your right to be able to vote. Something else we'd love to hear from you if you have an opportunity. What sort of issues are you having when you're abroad? Is there anything that we might be able to address from the Canadian expat side? Anything that you'd like to talk about? Perhaps produce a video about? Let us know. Love to hear from that. And what about Corona? COVID-19. It's almost a touchy subject, but would love to know how it's affecting everybody abroad. Hopefully your Canada Day is going really well and will continue to go very well. For those that are just joining right now, once again, happy Canada Day. We're assuming that this is the very first attempt at a truly global Canada Day, and we're so excited that you are joining us here. We did a short video a couple of weeks ago about Coffee Crisp, the chocolate bar. The idea was to start talking about some of the foods that Canadians might be missing, because Coffee Crisp is one of those items that you can't, or I shouldn't say you can't, but it's difficult to find abroad. Is there anything that you're missing while you're abroad? What sort of foods do you miss that are readily available in Canada? We heard from one viewer, the first person actually to comment in our live chat, that they're having poutine today in Japan. They own, looks like a small organic farm, which sounds super exciting. And would love to hear if there's anything that you're missing where you live from Canada. And is there anything in particular that you think maybe we should make a video about? We're thinking maybe in the future doing something about ketchup potato chips, just because I think they're really unique to Canada. So again, for those people that might be just joining us, if you scroll down a little bit in the description, you'll see a link to Zoom. Please join us on Zoom. And if you do, you end up on the screen right here with me. It would be great to see you. For those that are just joining, let us know where you're from. In the live chat section, let us know where you're from. And if you can, how are you celebrating Canada Day? This is a momentous occasion, perhaps the world's first global Canada Day broadcast, and really excited to be able to do this with everybody else. What is your Canada Day story? This is something that I spoke a little bit already earlier, but I'm going to speak about it again. When I was in I guess I would have been my early 30s, so 20 years ago, because you just add it up, you can figure out how old I am. But I lived in a small town in the mountains in Japan, just outside of Takayama. Butter tarts. Butter tarts. Very cool. Yeah, anybody find butter tarts in Japan? I know when I lived there, I didn't find butter tarts. But anyway, back to my story. When I was living in that small community just outside of Takayama, which is about an hour and a half from Nagoya, which is pretty much the geographic center of Japan. I was very good friends with the Canadian consulate in Nagoya. He was my hiking buddy, and I was able to get a list of Canadian suppliers of Canadian foods in Japan. In particular, I found Canadian salmon and Canadian beef, some matsu clamato juice, and moosehead beer. And we held a Canadian barbecue. It was fantastic. There were a few people that consumed way too many Caesars, which is not a bad thing, I suppose. Something that you're supposed to do on Canada Day, I guess. Would love to hear. Ava spoke to me. I would love to hear about your farm, your organic farm. What sort of things do you produce? Is that your source of income? Do you produce foods for sale, or is that a hobby farm? That's very cool. I'm excited to see that. And everybody else, there's a couple of other people that have joined us. Where are you? Where are you located? We've heard from people from the Middle East. We'd love to know exactly where you're from. It's just very interesting to see so many people around the world, so many Canadians around the world celebrating Canada Day. Butter tarts. Love them. The family butter tart recipe is something that we have held very tightly to our chest for a very long time. The best things in the world. Maybe Ava spoke to me. Send me your email address. Maybe we'll send you the recipe just in case. I don't know if you have your own recipe, but would love to share actually my grandmother's recipe. I would do that for you. Oh, fantastic! Hello from France. It's very early for you, I would imagine, right now. It's 10 p.m. here in Victoria, where I'm broadcasting from. You're broadcasting from, or you're visiting us from France. Oh my goodness. Very early. What time is it there? Must be 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Anyway, good morning and happy Canada Day. Once again, for all those people that are joining us, happy Canada Day. So excited that you are joining us. There is a whole lot of events around the world that were canceled this year, of course, even of course local events here in Victoria, but it's so 7:19. No, it's not as early as I thought. Oh, well, there you go. Hope you're having a great breakfast. Thank you. There's a lot of events around the world that are being canceled, that have been canceled, which is really unfortunate. Of course, we all understand why that is. But with that, of course, with all those cancellations, we're seeing a lot more of these kind of events, live events, through Zoom and YouTube. Again, wide invitation to anybody to join me on Zoom. You can find the link partway down the description of the video. Would love to see you here. But this has given rise to this sort of technology, and I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first ever attempt at a global Canada Day. So let me know if you are aware of something else, because I've been telling people that this is the world's first Global Canada Day. The intent today is to stay doing this for the next 24 hours or 23 hours and a half. I'm not sure if my throat's going to last that long, but the idea, of course, is to capture or give the opportunity for Canadians, regardless of where you might be living in the world, the opportunity to join me. And very happy for all those that have joined. Thanks so much. Reminder, if you haven't liked the video, please do so. It helps us a great deal. Given the situation, coffee. I'm staying away from coffee right now. I might have some later on. If you have an opportunity to hit the like button and the subscribe button, that helps us a great deal at the Canadian Expat. As you can imagine, this is not my sole source of income, but it's quickly becoming that, just because the work that I normally do is not currently available. So we're trying to build our YouTube channel so that it does eventually become something that we can build some income. So if you're able to subscribe and hit the like button, that would help us a great deal. Those people that are just joining, just wanted to mention and make note that we are broadcasting from the unceded territory of the Songhees Nation on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, Victoria. Excited to be able to do that. And we're talking about, and I mentioned this earlier, haven't had anybody respond yet, but would love to know what you might think. I was speaking with my daughter about what's been going on in the United States and, of course, in Toronto and to a smaller degree here in the West, about so the multiculturalism and Black Lives Matter and how that relates to the First Nations in Canada. And we were talking about how people that come to visit Canada, so visitors to Canada, are naturally not very aware of First Nations culture in Canada, or even that they exist. They may know they exist on paper, but really an understanding of what that means, there's very little, I think, understanding of that. And how can we, as a community, as the expat community, contribute to a greater understanding of the First Nations culture around the world? How can we spread that? Looking for ideas, what you think that might be. What do you think? How do you think we could do that? Is it maybe it's just talking with our friends, our colleagues, our families, and trying to maybe spread some good information about the First Nations people in Canada. Eva, we had hoped to move our organic farm to Ontario in June, but because of that. Good question. So Eva spoke. Oh, somebody wants to get in. Let me. It's a good question. Eva spoke to me, is asking about whether or not anybody has any trouble migrating to Canada because of the pandemic. We'd love to hear from you. Rita, welcome. So excited to see you. We don't see you. Can't hear you either. Can you hear me? Are you there? Rita raised her hand. So one thing with Zoom, I'm not sure, you might have to click, you might have to accept the audio as well. And we lost our participant through Zoom. Rita, if you have an opportunity to join back in, we'd love to see you. Please do. Anybody else, please join us. So yeah, good question from Ava. Spoke to me. Sort of back up and do this. Sort of bounce all over the place, but it's very curious. How many people who had planned to migrate back to Canada haven't been able to do so because of the pandemic. Of course, getting back to Canada, it has been a challenge, but I would imagine that having to move your everything back would be very difficult. And would love to hear from other people and if they've had the same sort of difficulties. Again, those people that are just joining us, welcome. Love to hear about where you're from in the world. We started about 30 minutes ago, 31 minutes and 10 seconds ago, and are planning to broadcast for the next 24 hours. And I've just begun to realize that I'm probably going to be able to stay awake. I think I'm going to lose my voice part way through. So would love if somebody else were to join us through Zoom to carry on some of the weight. Hint, hint. Would love to see you. And if you're just joining us, please hit the like button. That helps the YouTube algorithm and gets the word out that we're doing this to the rest of the world. We've been trying to broadcast this through Facebook and whatnot and trying to promote it. And we've been able to do so with some success. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do so. That helps us a great deal. We're trying to make this eventually. The idea is to create a revenue stream through YouTube, which is not an easy thing. And we're at currently 900. Last time I checked, we're at 949 subscribers. We need 1,000 subscribers and a minimum of 4,000 watch hours to be able to become a partner with YouTube. And so this helps a great deal. If you're able to, again, subscribe and like the video, that would help a great deal. Thank you very much for liking it. Thank you for everybody. We're up to a few people joining us. Those that have just joined, welcome. Happy Canada Day to everybody that's just joining us. Please let us know where you're from, what you're doing abroad. That would be very interesting as well. There's no need to add any specifics or personal information, but we'd love to know where you're from abroad. That's very interesting. We've got people from France, Doha, from Dubai, Japan, and we'd love to know where you're from. I'm broadcasting from Victoria. I've been also, of course, letting people know that this is, of course, giving recognition to the Songhees Nation, which we are broadcasting from their unceded territory here in Victoria, and very honored to be able to do so. How are you celebrating Canada Day? Let us know. We're not quite there. I'm celebrating Canada Day with you. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. Well, it's going to be late at night tomorrow by the time I'm finished this. So I don't think I'm going to be doing a whole lot this year other than the broadcast. But super excited that you're able to join us. Once again, thank you very much. So a boss is asking what Canada Day is. Clearly, well, you're new to Canada. Well, welcome to Canada. I'm so glad that you've joined us here. Canada Day is the anniversary of the founding of Canada, if you will, and the confederation of the country, and it's the 153rd year, so it's still relatively new on a global scale for sure. But in terms of our confederation, the First Nations have been here for at least 10,000 years. And this is a day that we're able to celebrate Canada as a whole. Those that, of course, most people here are Canadian, but Canada is an incredibly diverse nation from the far east all the way to the far west. There are countless number of cultures that are represented here in the country, and that's a fantastic thing. Canada, as opposed to being a melting pot, it's much more like a salad, is what we used to call it, where there's all kinds of flavors, but it's a delicious thing altogether. And Canada Day is an opportunity for all Canadians, regardless of who you are and what culture you might be from, to celebrate the birth of the country. Recognizing once again, of course, that were originally founded by the First Nations. Again, 10,000 years ago, there are First Nations that occupied most of Canada. You're welcome. I hope it helped. For those that are just joining, welcome. We are delighted that you are joining us today. Happy Canada Day to wherever you might be from. Let us know where you are from or where you're located right now, because that's very interesting. The start time, we started at 10 p.m. here in Victoria, because it seemed like that's 10 p.m. June 30th, which is the day before Canada Day for me. But for those people in New Zealand, anybody joining us from New Zealand, it's 5 p.m. in New Zealand. So I guess it's 5:30 now. But it seemed like a good time. I guess, slightly arbitrary. But anyway, we're delighted that you're joining us. Let us know. I'm curious, is anybody from New Zealand here? Would love to hear your Canada Day story. And videos that you can put in. Found cheese curds and Saint-Aubert, gravy sauce, maple bacon, Nanaimo bars, and maple leaf shaped watermelon. Maple leaf shaped watermelon? That is so cool. It's amazing. Now, wait a minute. Now, I'm guessing that you are cutting the maple leaf out of the watermelon, or did somebody actually grow watermelon in a maple leaf mold? I know in Japan you can buy square Okay, very good. Okay, thank you very much. So you have a maple leaf shaped cookie cutter. Very good. Okay. In Japan, you used to be able to buy. I don't know if you can now. You used to be able to buy square watermelons because they would actually grow the watermelon in a box, and then as the watermelon grew, it would take the shape of the wooden box. So just wanted to clarify. It wasn't as dumb of a question as you might think. It's awesome that you're able to find cheese curds and Sangobert gravy sauce. Fantastic. You're not the only ones that are having poutine today. There's it's Ava spoke to me. I'm not sure if she's still are there still joining us, but they're having poutine in Japan. Got poutine in France. That's awesome. Fantastic. Edmonton, very cool. So we've got people from that are living not only, of course, in around the world, but also in Canada that are joining us, which is exciting. Welcome. And please, if you have an opportunity, would love if you join me on Zoom. If you scroll down partway down the description in the video, you will see, which is, I guess, just down here someplace, you'll see a link to Zoom. Would love if you have an opportunity to join us. It's great to be able to converse with you through the chats service here, but if you can join me here, that would be great. What I would love to hear is how you're celebrating Canada Day, wherever you are. And also, there's some questions that we'd love to talk about. And things like what you might be missing from home, wherever that might be in Canada. What are you missing from Canada, as in terms of food in particular? Is it Nanaimo bars? Is it well, we had heard butter tarts already. Well, what else might there be? Clearly, poutine is a big item. That's lots of people having that. And how is the coronavirus affecting you? That's something that we'd like to talk to you about. Lots of things. One thing that, of course, we would love to ask and carry on a conversation with you about is how or what is your Canada Day story? Do you have a story that you can share with us? We'd love to hear what you have to say. Abbas, you've heard that there will be a parade. I don't know if Edmonton will have a parade this year or not. I doubt it. I think this year there will be no parades this year at all. It would be, again, correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody knows another story, let me know. But from what I understand, all Canada Day, so mass celebrations have been canceled within the country. A lot of them are doing things that are not too dissimilar from this. So you're doing something through YouTube and through Skype. I have worked very closely with the Canadian Business Council in Southern California, and they're working with one of the largest social groups down in California, Canadians abroad, to do a YouTube and Zoom type session as well. So they're oh, thanks so much. Please join us later on, and join me through Zoom. It'd be great to hear from you. They're doing a huge event down there through Zoom. But again, I think, as I said before, I think this is the world's first ever global Canada Day celebration. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I've tried to find one so that I'm not mistaken when I make that claim, but I'm not sure. So let me know if this is not the world's first global Canada Day. I'd be surprised, but hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. To all those that are just joining us just now, welcome and happy Canada Day to everyone that's here. We've had people come and go quite a bit, and just super excited that you're able to join us. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit that like button. It helps us a great deal here at the Canadian Expat. We're trying to make a go of this as a potential revenue stream, because my daytime job is currently not viable. I work in hotels here in Victoria, and what I do is currently not a viable career option at this point. We'll see what happens. I've been told that I may be called back in August or September, but this may be this YouTube for the Canadian Expat, which is an organization that I founded almost 13 years ago, but it certainly is not a revenue generating organization. We've been doing this for a long time, just because it's an awesome thing to do, and we're just so excited that we're able to do it. But if you hit the like button, if you hit the subscribe button, that helps us a great deal. So let us know where you're located. Click in the live chat there. Tell us where you're located in the world. We'd love to hear. We've heard from people in Doha and Dubai, Edmonton, France. Hopefully we'll get somebody from New Zealand. It would be very cool to have somebody from New Zealand join us. If you happen to know anybody in New Zealand, get them on here. We started this at 10 o'clock just for them. So not just for them, of course, for everybody. It seemed like a great time. 5 p.m. on July 1st is 10 p.m. here in Victoria, and that seemed to work as a great time. But if you get an opportunity to get somebody from New Zealand on the line, that'd be awesome. For those just joining, welcome. Happy Canada Day 2020, Canada 153. Super excited that you are able to join us. Please let us know in the live chat where you're from, because that's just super cool that we're getting people from all over the world. And let us know how you're celebrating Canada Day today. What are you doing? We've had somebody in Japan, not sure if they're still with us or not, but they're making poutine for lunch or for dinner. And we had somebody in France doing exactly the same thing. So we've got two people that have asked, or that have said that they're making poutine to celebrate Canada Day, and would love to know what you're doing. Is there anybody else doing that? I think we should start taking a poll. That's what I think we should be doing. Find out what everybody's doing for Canada Day. So poutine, clearly we've got 2 people listed on that. That's what we're going to make a list. And if you're just joining, welcome. If you scroll down in the description, you'll see a link to our Zoom feed. You can join me here. Would love to see you. And you can join me in a conversation. Would love to have you join me through Zoom as well. So please do that. Again, we're assuming that this is the world's first global Canada Day. Let me know if I'm wrong. I think I'm right, but I think I should stop asking, because I think I'm going to assume that this is the world's first global Canada Day. And how are you celebrating your Canada Day? What are you doing? Are you making poutine? Are you making butter tarts? We've had our, of course, you can look in the live chat, but they're having some people in France are having a barbecue. They're also having poutine. They were able to find cheese curds and Saint-Hubert gravy, Nanaimo bars, maple leaf shaped watermelon. That's awesome. All right, we're coming up on this being being an hour now that it was since we started. I'm going to take just a 2-minute break. I'm just going to grab some water. I'll be back really soon. For those people that are just joined, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Hold on 2 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab some water. All right. Back. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for waiting. So, Canada Day 2020. We made it, folks, to 2020, to Canada Day 2020, which is awesome that we're able to do this. It's unfortunate that so many Canada Day celebrations around the world have been canceled. But instead of that, we're doing this broadcast, which again, I'm assuming is the world's first for that to happen. I'm excited we're able to do that. But Canada Day for me represents something very special, and I'm super excited that we're able to do this with everybody on a global scale. So just to give you some my Canada Day story, and I would love to hear yours as well, and join me on Zoom if you can. When I was living in Japan, when I guess it was almost 20 years ago, in 2001, I guess, so 19 years ago, I was very good friends with the consulate in Nagoya, and I had the opportunity to get a list of suppliers of Canadian food in Japan from the Canadian consulate. Gave them a call and told them, I'm going to be holding a Canada Day barbecue. Can you send me Canadian beef, Canadian salmon, Mott's Clamato juice, and Moosehead beer. So I called, it wasn't one supplier, it was a number of different suppliers. Called them, and they were all super nice. We ended up having to pay wholesale prices for those items, which is next to nothing. It was great. We charged just enough to cover the cost of the food that we served. We got a lot of people very drunk on Caesars and Moosehead beer, and fed a lot of people salmon, Canadian salmon, and Canadian beef on the barbecue. It was so much fun. This is in the country in Japan. This is when I was living just outside of Takayama, Japan, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Nagoya, which is pretty much the geographic center of Japan. Anyway, we had the opportunity to give people in that community a little taste of what Canada Day is all about. So some great food and a lot of alcohol, and it was it was delicious. Anyway, how were you celebrating your Canada Day? Let us know. Let us know where you're joining us from. That's super interesting always to find out. So let us know. We've heard a couple of people that are having poutine for dinner today. Would love to find out if you're doing the same thing. Doing anything special for Canada Day? There's places of course, many places in Thailand and other places that are holding small events and different bars and whatnot. Would love to hear whether or not there's anything going in your community regarding that. And we'd love to do a little bit of a shout out to those that are doing something, because doing something, even if it's a small event, is better than doing absolutely nothing. We're just excited that you're here with us, of course. For those that have just joined, if you scroll down, partway down the description in the channel there, you'll see a link to our Zoom feed. Feel free, would love you to join us through Zoom as well. And as we go around the world, would love to know, again, where you're from. Where are you joining us from? Please let us know in the live chat. So in 2019, of course, there was the election in here in Canada, and we were super proud of the fact that we had the opportunity to be interveners in the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court case, which ended up ruling in our favor, and that's allowing Canadians who have lived abroad for 5 years or more to vote in federal elections. And would love to know if you've taken advantage of that or not, if you've been able to, if you voted in the last election, because it's your right to be able to do so. And welcome to those that have just joined. Well, we're so excited that you're here. Happy Canada Day, wherever you might be. Please let us know where you're from in the chat section. Let us know where you're from, where you're living. Sorry, and if you'd love to let us know where you're from in Canada too, that's great to know as well. But in particular, let us know where you are currently located, where you're joining us from, because that's super exciting. We started at 10 p.m. just over an hour ago, and it's 10 p.m. here in Victoria. One thing that just I'd love to let people know that we're super proud of being able to broadcast from the unceded territories of the Songhean Nations in Victoria. Speaking with my daughter, who's just off to university right now, or while she's on her way there, it's given the current climate in the U.S. and in Canada, in particular in the East, it's really spurred on the conversation of how are we helping to spread any awareness of First Nations culture. And this is something that I think was worth the conversation. Would love to hear from you. What do you think? What do you think is would be a good way to help spread awareness of it? What spurred this whole conversation on, I was speaking with my daughter and about, because I work normally in tourism, and visitors to Canada, generally speaking, are very unaware of the First Nations culture, or that really it exists, right? And everybody's got lots of stories about that. Would love to hear what your thoughts are about that, and if there's any, first of all, any value, and if there's any value to it, how would you go about spreading awareness of First Nations culture where you live? Would that just be simply carrying on conversations with your neighbors and colleagues and friends and family? And what would that conversation look like? I think these are important questions to ask, because for those people that are visiting from around the world, it would be amazing if they came with some understanding of some of that culture. But would love to hear from you. Let us know in the chat section. If you have an opportunity to join me on Zoom, please do so. You can find the link to Zoom in the description on the video. Would love to hear that. Welcome to Canadian Expat Global Canada Day. To those that are just joining, so excited that you're here. I think this is the world's first Global Canada Day, and I'm not sure exactly if that's true or not. If you are aware of another event that's happened in the past that would be a Global Canada Day, please let me know, because I've been saying this a lot tonight already. But I was so glad that you're able to join us. Let us know where you're from. Where are you located around the world? Where are you joining us from? That's super interesting to know. Just in case you aren't aware, I'm located in Victoria, the southern tip of Vancouver Island. It's 11 p.m. here. And where are you from? What are you doing for Canada Day? What's on the agenda? What are you doing? Any food that you're preparing? We've heard from somebody from France who's having a full-on barbecue with poutine and Nanaimo bars and maple leaf shaped watermelon. I've heard from somebody in France that's doing poutine They have a small organic farm, and they're doing poutine this evening. What are you doing? How are you celebrating Canada Day? Are you going out? Are you going to be joining a few friends? Given the situation globally, that's not happening a whole lot, but I would imagine that it's still happening in some places as bars begin to open up. But what are you doing? What are you doing for Canada Day? How are you celebrating? Is this your big event, or are you going to be joining in on something else later on? This is my event, and I'm going to be doing this for the next 23 hours. The plan is to continue to do this, and hopefully will last that long. But if you're joining, one thing that helps out, if you hit that like button, that helps encourage me. Also subscribe if you haven't already to our channel. We'd love to be able to get more information out to Canadians around the world. We're doing a number of videos. We have done a number lately anyway, on in particular taxation for Canadians abroad, because that seemed to be a really popular topic. But also, so immigration, we're working with an immigration lawyer in Vancouver has volunteered to answer some questions for us in a series of videos, a series of 8 of them. I would love to hear, what sort of issues would you want to know about? Is there anything that we can cover for you, that we can discuss for you? Is it maybe more news items, perhaps? Maybe is that something that you'd like to see on the Canadian Expat channel? Is it perhaps more kind of human interest stories? We've been doing a lot of interviews with Canadians around the world, and that's been a whole lot of fun. I've spoken to people in Dubai and in Bahrain and Oman and in France and Scotland and Norway and New Zealand and several places in the United States, Ecuador. And it's just so exciting to be able to do that. And let me know if you've enjoyed those videos. Those have been fun to provide. And also, once again, if there anything that you would really like to see us produce, any issues that you're having that you think should be addressed, we'd love to hear those. Or if you know of any Canadian abroad that you think we should highlight. We did a video about a Canadian who owns a bar in Okinawa, Japan, and that was tons of fun. Again, if you know of somebody that does something like that and wouldn't mind doing a video with us, would love to be able to speak with them. How are you celebrating Canada Day? What are you doing? Let us know. Put it in the chat section there. Let us know. Also, for those that are just joining, just so you're aware, there's an opportunity to join me here on this screen by going to the link that's in the description. There's a Zoom meeting link that you can click, and that will enable you to join me here, because it would be great to be able to do that. It looks like there's a slight lag, of course, a few seconds between what I'm saying and when it's finally broadcast. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works. So please, if you get an opportunity, join me on Zoom. Welcome to those that are just joining. So glad you're here. Happy Canada Day. It's exciting. Canada Day 2020, Canada 153. It's an awesome time, even though it's not an awesome time with the of course, the pandemic. But this sort of technology is really developed and has really grown, and people are becoming used to it. So we're able to do something like this. I believe this is the world's first Global Canada Day. If I'm wrong, once again, let me know. Let us know where you're joining us from. That is something I'm very curious to know. We started at 10 p.m. Victoria time, which is 5 p.m. in New Zealand on Canada Day. I'd love to know where you're located. Where are you joining us from? Lots of people have been saying that they've been serving poutine in order to celebrate Canada Day. How are you doing it? What are you doing for Canada Day? One of the videos that we did a short while ago was about coffee crisp chocolate bars, which for those that will remember, it makes a nice light snack. But we did that video because we've seen in a lot of different chat sessions and Facebook sessions about foods that people are missing, and surprisingly, coffee crisp came up quite often because it isn't available anywhere in the United States, or if it is available, it's in limited spots. Of course, almost everything now is available through Amazon, but just for the average person, if you want to go get a coffee crisp, you're not going to get one anywhere in the US. And those sort of foods bring back a lot of strong feelings, some great feelings from when we're kids. I know when I was first in Japan, the food that I missed the most, probably just because something that my mother made, I guess, would have been simply roast beef. The roast beef at the time in Japan was virtually unheard of, and things have changed significantly now, I'm sure. But the first time that I was there, it was that roast beef that I craved, something that I really wanted. Is there something that you are finding that you're missing a great deal? Let us know in the chat section. Click on there. Let us know. It'd be great to hear. For those that are just joining, welcome. If you have an opportunity to join us through Zoom as well, just go down to the description a little bit. You'll see a Zoom link. Click that. Join me right here. Would love to see you here. Carry on a conversation with you live. So how has COVID-19 affected you? Things in Canada are beginning to now open up a bit. We're going through different stages, of course, and hotels and whatnot can open now in Victoria. I'm located in Victoria, and I can speak best about Victoria because that's where I'm located. I know that Ontario is still having a few problems, and there's been a small flare-up in Saskatchewan, I believe. but for the most part, Canada has done a pretty good job in controlling the virus for the most part. And I know that, of course, Quebec and Ontario, things did blow up for a while, but not nearly as bad as I think they could have been. BC has done I think, a great job. It has meant, of course, some difficulties for some people within the tourism industry, for example, which is the mainstay here in Victoria. It's given us a lot of time to do other things. Thank goodness for the CERB. For those that aren't aware, Canada, the Canadian federal government has instituted what they call the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, right? CERB, CERB, and that has helped a fantastic amount. That's $2,000 a month for anybody who's been displaced as a result of COVID-19. So that has helped a tremendous amount. I know for myself, my daytime job is not doing the Canadian Expat. That's what I do in the evenings and on the weekends and whatnot. But my full-time job is working in group sales in hotels. And as you can imagine, this pandemic has put a complete hold. Oh, looks like somebody's joining us on. Hello, Simon.
Hey, hi.
Hey, happy Canada Day.
Likewise, happy Canada Day. Bonne fête du Canada.
Bon fête. So glad you're joining me. Where are you phoning from?
I'm calling you from Hong Kong, actually.
Oh, fantastic. How are things in Hong Kong?
Well, this morning we had a big brunch organized by the Canadian Club in Hong Kong, so that was great. Good
Awesome.
Start of the day, and so now just back from the brunch.
Fantastic. I'm so excited that you've joined. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How's the weather?
The weather is quite nice today. Actually, it's quite sunny. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So it's always a bit humid here in Hong Kong. So
I bet
today is pretty good.
Awesome. It's I'm located in in Vancouver Island, just outside of Victoria, and it was chilly today. I think it got up to a whopping 12 degrees, so a little bit cooler than. Anything planned for Canada Day, other than the brunch?
Other than brunch, well, it depends. Maybe I know there's a couple of events. In Hong Kong, there's actually close to 300,000 Canadians living in Hong Kong.
Yes.
So there's a couple of bars nearby here. I think there's at least two of them organizing also like all you can drink for 2 hours with poutine and all those kind of things. So it's going to be
fantastic.
It's going to be something to explore maybe later on.
It's hilarious. We've heard from a few people around the world. Somebody from France, another person living in Japan, and it seems that poutine has become a staple for Canadians, regardless of where you are in the world. It seems to be the Canadian food, right? Everybody wants to eat it, which is great. It's exciting.
It is great indeed, but it's so funny because back in the days when I was much younger in Quebec, the poutine was seen like as kind of some people were ashamed of eating it, like in the early 80s and when it was starting up. But now it's becoming like a global. It started out of Quebec, and now it's becoming like a global Canadian dish that everybody's embracing. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's well, you need to be proud of it. I mean, it's fantastic. But I mean, it's French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. How can you go wrong, right?
Exactly. There's no way you can go wrong with it unless you mess up with the cheese. I think.
Right.
I don't want to be a purist, but as a French Canadian, proud Quebecer, I think you need the cheese curd. You need the fresh cheese curd.
Yeah.
That's number one ingredient. You cannot mess up with that.
Nice squeaky cheese curds, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like you've got little ones in the background there.
Yeah, he's playing. The little one is noisy a bit.
Curious, of course, we've heard. I don't want to get into politics a great deal, but of course, Hong Kong right now is going through some issues, of course, with what's going on in China, and it sounds a little bit from our perspective here in Canada. It sounds a little bit scary. How are things for you?
Oh, this is something that I think your assessment is quite right. Most people are very much worried. And yeah, this is a topic that most of us would be more than happy to discuss in the privacy.
In privacy.
Beers.
Of course, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I don't want to get anybody in any trouble, of course, but
yeah. Roger that.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you've joined us. That's fantastic.
Great. I hope you're going to be joined by other people later on today. I know it's for here in Hong Kong, it's only 20 past 2 p.m. So
right,
still early on during the day. So as the rest of the world will soon wake up, I guess you're going to have more people joining in.
I would think so. I hope so. Anyway, it's been interesting. We've had not a huge number of people that have joined us on the YouTube live stream, but we've had no fewer. Well, right now there's like 3 or 4, but we've had as many as 10 people, 11 people. So, and it's people that come and they go, and I think it's going to be much like that for the evening. It would be very cool to see hundreds of people, but I suspect that it'll be a few people here and there, and that's fine. We're excited to be able to tie everybody together. And I think I've said this a number of times already, but I believe that this is the world's first global Canada Day celebration. If you hear anything differently, let me know.
No, I think it's a fair assessment. Like people, they've been locked down for such a while now. Very keen to all get together virtually and enjoy this day.
Yeah,
probably enjoying.
That's awesome. And if there's anybody else out there that if you're wanting to join us on Zoom, click on that link. Let us know. Hey, how's the audio, by the way? Some of the things, are you able to hear everything fairly well?
It's really good, actually. It's really good. On my side, maybe the sound is not as good coming from me, but coming from your end is extremely good.
Oh, fantastic. No, I can hear you very clearly. Everything's great.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Good. So I just wanted to drop in.
Thank you.
Hi. Say happy Canada Day. Bonne fête du Canada.
Thank you.
At the moment.
Merci. Bon fête.
All right. So I'm going to leave you, but I will still watch you. All right?
Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. Cheers. Bye.
Au revoir. That was awesome. For those that have just joined, welcome. So glad to see you. Please feel free to join me on Zoom as well. We've had Simon from Hong Kong joined us on Zoom just now, which was great. And would love to hear from others, regardless of where you are in the world. If you're able to join us through Zoom, click on the link in the description, and that'll take you straight to there. Would love to hear from you. So glad you're here. Welcome, everybody. Happy Canada Day. Very excited that you're here. Very excited that we're able to do this. I've been talking about my personal Canada Day experience and the one story that I have, and I've told this already a couple of times, but given that we've been in this like an hour and a half, I'm guessing that most people are relatively new. But when I was in Japan, it's almost 20 years ago, I was really good friends with the Canadian consulate in Nagoya and the consul general there, and had the opportunity. I asked him for a list of suppliers of Canadian food in that region because we wanted to hold a barbecue in the small community that I was living in the time. in the mountains in Japan. And he gladly, he was kind of my hiking buddy, and he said, "Sure, no problem. I'll send you the list." So we spent a day calling different suppliers of Canadian food in Japan. So we found a supplier of Canadian salmon, Canadian beef, Mott's Clamato juice, and Moosehead beer. All of them were extremely cooperative. They provided us with food at cost. That's wholesale cost, so very cheap. They shipped it to us for free. We found a spot on beside the river, had a huge barbecue that we borrowed from the community, had a welcome to everybody, and they paid like a few dollars for all you can eat Canadian steak, Canadian salmon, Moosehead beer, and Caesars. And it was fantastic. We ended up managed to have one person that drank so many Caesars that I think that she passed out at one point. But when I was 20 something, that wasn't such a big deal. It was a whole lot of fun to really introduce Canadian, a bit of Canadian culture, I guess, Canadian food to this community. And although some people did consume a few too many Caesars, it was a whole lot of fun. Anyway, would love to hear your Canada Day story if you have one. If you got an opportunity, let me know in the live chat. Let me know where you're joining us from as well in the live chat. But if you get an opportunity to scroll down in the description of the video, you'll see a link to our Zoom. Click on that and you can join me right here. We've heard from one person from Hong Kong. And that's awesome to be able to listen to somebody and talk to them in person as well. So everybody else would have an opportunity to carry on in the conversation. We can host up to 20 people on Zoom. So please, up to 100 people on Zoom. So please feel free to join us. We'd love for you to join us on that. Also, if you're just joining, do me a favor, please hit the like button. And if you get an opportunity to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be amazing. The Canadian Expat is trying to grow our YouTube presence so that we can provide content that is both interesting and useful to Canadians that are living abroad. So we've already produced a series about tax for Canadians that are living abroad. We've are in the process of releasing a series on immigration for people who are coming back to Canada with spouses, for example. So these are the sort of things we think are of interest to Canadians that are living abroad, and would love to know what you think. There's also other things as well, like our interviews with Canadians that are living around the world, and that's a whole lot of fun to do. We've spoken to people in UAE and in Bahrain and in Japan. Talked to a bar owner in Okinawa, Japan. A English school owner in Lima, Peru. Somebody that's living in Ecuador. We spoke to people in France and in Norway and in Sweden and Italy. And there's a lot of places that we've been able to visit virtually through this format. At some point, the ultimate goal is that someday we would love to be able to do this live and be able to visit Canadians that are around the world. And that's kind of what we're trying to do through this community, is to grow that possibility. So do me a favor, hit the like button for this video, and please subscribe to our channel, because that helps us a great deal. In order to become a YouTube partner, if you will, you need to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And right now, I think we're at now 950, exactly 950 subscribers. So just another 50 people and we get to 1,000, and we can start to hopefully make a little bit of revenue through the YouTube channel, which would be awesome. The YouTube is Canadian Expat. I'm the founder. That was 13 years ago. I found the Canadian Expat, created this organization, and it's always been something that we've done in the evenings and the weekends. It's not my full-time job. I work within the tourism industry here in Victoria. So just super excited that we're building this community and hopefully be able to gain some revenue so that we can do this full-time. That's the goal. So if you have an opportunity to subscribe to our channel, please do. We'd love to hear also what sort of things you want to see on the channel. But anyway, we're here for Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to everyone around the world. It's early afternoon for many people in Asia. So welcome. I hope you're having an awesome time. Let us know, whether it be through the live chat or through the Zoom channel, how you're celebrating. I've heard from Simon in Hong Kong, who they participated in a pancake breakfast in Hong Kong this morning for Canada Day. Amazing. I'm so glad to hear that there are some events that are going on. Very little elsewhere, of course, is happening. Many, many, many events around the world have canceled, which is really unfortunate. But we're glad that we're able to do this event. Probably the world's first global Canada Day. So one thing that I've also been saying, and I mean this from my heart as well, we're very thankful that we're able to do this video from this location here in Victoria. And we want to recognize that this is unceded territory of the Songhees Nation. And we'd like to welcome you here as representatives of Canadian expats around the world. Kind of on that topic, we'd love to know, how do you think, or what do you think might be a good way, or what would be an appropriate way for Canadians abroad to help spread awareness of Canadian First Nation culture? This is something that is rather dear to my heart, being here in Victoria and working within the tourism industry. There's a lot of individuals that come to Canada from around the world as tourists. Canada is a great place to come to. It's amazing. And one thing that we love to purport, if you will, that Canadian expats have a tremendous ability to influence those around you. So friends and family, neighbors, colleagues, all of them look up to Canadian expats as representatives of Canada, which is an amazing opportunity. So those people that are coming to Canada as tourists are often really unaware, of course, for many reasons, of course, they're not unaware of First Nations culture. And so what I would like to ask is, how can the Canadian expat community work towards building stronger awareness about First Nations culture? And what do you think is the best way to do that? Would love to hear from you, because I think there's a role to play for Canadians that are living abroad. So in the live chat, please let us know. Or even a better way, if you go to the link in our Zoom, the link in the description, you'll find our Zoom link. Click on that, and you can join me here in person talking. Would love to see you. Right now, it's just me talking. Would love to hear you as well. And on something a little bit, I guess, a funner topic. What are you missing from home? What sort of foods do you miss? I know when I lived abroad, of course, I live in Canada now. When I lived in Japan for 10 years, when I was there, one of the foods that I missed the most was roast beef. This was 20 years ago when it was uncommon to find roast beef at all. And most people are aware that the typical Japanese home, especially then, did not have ovens. So there was no way for the typical family to actually cook a roast beef. It was just physically impossible. The ovens were often about this large, right? So it'd be just large enough to grill some fish, certainly not large enough to cook a roast beef. So that was the food that I craved the most when I was in Japan. Would love to hear from you. What is it? Is it some of our, the treats like the coffee crisps or ketchup potato chips or Smarties or Nanaimo bars, or is it poutine? What is it? What is the food that you crave the most? I'd love to take kind of a little bit of a poll, and it's really ad hoc, if you will, but I've already found two people that are, so three now, that are serving, having poutine for a snack. So we'd love to hear from you. What is it that you really crave? What are you doing for Canada Day? What are you going to be serving? What are you going to be eating? Let us know. And one thing I forgot to ask is simply, where are you joining us from? Please enter in the live chat. Tell us where you're from. We've had people from already incredible places. Of course, Hong Kong, Doha, Dubai, France. Would love to hear, in Japan as well. Would love to hear where you're currently located. Let us know. And once again, happy Canada Day to everyone. As I plan on being here all night. So until 10 p.m., about 22 and a half hours from now, I am going to be drinking a lot of water. That's all I've been drinking. Eventually it'll turn to coffee, but right now, happy Canada Day to everyone around the world. So excited that you've joined us. So Welcome to everyone here again. I see I've had a couple of new people join us. Welcome to the Canadian Expat Global Canada Day celebration. Yay, we're so excited that you're here. Where are you calling from? Where are you joining us from? Please let me know. Type in the live chat. Let us know where you're currently located. Would love to hear from you. Also, if you go into the description of the video, you'll find a link to our Zoom meeting channel, which will give you access to join me right here. Would love to hear from you, carry on a conversation wherever you might be around the world, because there's nothing cooler than being able to speak with people around the world. It's one thing that I've really loved doing the last little while is conducting interviews with Canadians that are living in other areas of the world, Turkey, France, Dubai, Bahrain, there's New Zealand, Australia, people all around the world, Japan, which has been a whole lot of fun, and would love to be able to do a whole lot more of that. So let us know where you're from, where are you joining us from, and tell us, how are you celebrating Canada Day? There's so many ways to do so, and we'd love to know how you're doing it. And if you have a Canada Day story, please let us know. But one thing that would love to have a discussion with you about is perhaps issues that you might be having while you're abroad. And is there anything in particular that you think the Canadian Expat as an organization can address in terms of whether it be written articles or videos? It's something that you might be either that you find would be very interesting or useful. Any issue that you think that we should be addressing, please let us know. There's one thing, of course, that is something that's always been on our minds here at the Canadian Expat, and we've been working on, and perhaps need to work a little bit harder on it, and that's the issue of course, citizenship for Canadians that are born abroad. And for those that aren't aware of the situation, if this is in 2009, a bill was enacted and enshrined in law here in Canada that if any Canadian who is born abroad is labeled then a second generation born abroad, so first generation born abroad, if that individual subsequently has a child abroad, they cannot pass on their Canadian citizenship to their child. So it'd be the second generation born abroad. Even if they were to move back to Canada and live their entire life in Canada, if they move abroad at some point and have the child, that child does not receive Canadian citizenship automatically. An example is in my own case, both of my children were born in Japan, and this is 20 years ago. And shortly after being born, our entire family moved back to Canada. Of course, because their father is Canadian, both of the children received their Canadian citizenship, even though they were born in Japan, which is natural, of course. When they're very young, at age 3 and age 4, both of them came with us back to Canada, and they've lived here ever since. For all intents and purposes, they know only Canada. Of course, we go back to Japan occasionally to visit, but Canada is the country that they know. The English is the language that they're strongest with. We've tried to keep up that Japanese language if that's difficult. But even though they've lived their entire life in Canada, if my daughter, for example, moves abroad, which we encourage our children to do so as a life experience and the rest. If they do so, and she has a child while abroad, that child does not receive or would not receive Canadian citizenship automatically. And I think this is an issue and something that would love to hear from you. Do you think this is an issue? Do you think this is something that we should pursue stronger than we currently are? And what do you think is the solution? One of the solution that we're presenting is, if that Canadian child comes back and lives in Canada for 3 years or longer, then that restriction should be removed. But we'd love to hear from you. What is it? What do you think they should do? There's a few people that have joined us again. Welcome to the Canadian Expats Global Canada Day. As far as I know, this is the world's first Global Canada Day. Super excited that you've been able to join us today, and would love to hear where you're from. We've got a few people that are watching, and would love to hear exactly where you're located in the world. We've had people that are located in Japan, in Dubai, Doha, France, Hong Kong, and I'm sure a lot of other countries, even some here in Canada, but would love to hear where you're located. Let us know. And if you get an opportunity, I would like to invite you to our Zoom. You can join me here. You can see the live Zoom feed there. If you go into the description in the YouTube channel, our video description, you'll find a Zoom link. Click on that and I'll admit you into the Zoom channel, because we'd love to be able to hear from you there. Let us know what you're doing for Canada Day. Also, do me a favor, if you can, please like this video and also subscribe to our channel. The Canadian Expat is really trying to build our audience. We're trying to make it to that magical 1,000 subscribers for our YouTube channel, because once you get to that 1,000 subscriber point, then you can enter into the YouTube partnership program and earn some revenue, and that's the goal. Of course, the Canadian Expat is not something that it's not a full-time position for me. I'm the founder of the Canadian Expat, but this is what I've been doing in the evenings and on the weekends. With the current situation, of course, I've lost that income in terms of my full-time job. Thank goodness there's the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, the CERB, which has helped out a fantastic amount. Thank you very much to the federal government. But that will end at some point, and we really would love to be able to continue helping Canadians abroad. That this is a potential revenue stream that we would like to pursue. So a couple of things: please subscribe to our channel, because that'll help a great deal. Also, let us know what sort of things you would like to see us cover in our channel. What are some issues that you might have, or what are some interesting videos that you would like to see? Because we'd love to produce what you would love to see. And again, thank you very much for joining us. All right. Happy Canada Day to everyone, regardless of where you are located around the world. So glad that you've been able to join us. Thank you very much. Happy Canada Day. If you get an opportunity to join me through Zoom as well, please do so. Click on that little link you'll find in the description of the video, and you can join me on Zoom. We'd love to see you. All right. I'm going to just duck away for 2 minutes. I have to refresh my water bottle. It'll be back right away. 2 minutes, I'll be back. Thank you very much. Welcome. Hello. Hi there. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Welcome. Did you have to click? I'm not sure if you're able to hear me or not, but if you have to join on audio as well, we can see you. That's not a problem. Oh, so you did not connect on the audio. So you have to connect in audio. Can you hear me? Oh, there you are. All right. So clearly that didn't work. So somebody tried to connect with us in Zoom. If you are joining us in Zoom, please do. Would love to see you. Remember that you have to connect with audio as well as video often. So I think in some cases it may work automatically, but in others you have to actually go in and click on connect in audio. So make sure you do that. Just a quick question. Please let me know. Are you able to hear me well enough for all those out there? Is our audio working okay? Please let me know. Otherwise, we're super excited that you're here. Welcome to Canada Day 2020, Canada 153, the world's first global Canada Day celebration. And so excited that you're here. We've had a few people at any given time. It's now been, I guess, 2 hours that we've been doing this now, almost 2 hours. And we've had upwards to 20 people at any given time. So we're now down to like 3 or 4, but it's been a lot of people from all around the world have joined us. Would love to hear where you're from. Where are you located? Please type in the description or in the live chat where you're located, because we'd love to hear that, or love to see where you're from. And if you get an opportunity, please join me in the Zoom. Again, you need to click that little button that's in the link that's in the description, but you also need to join an audio as well. So please join. We would love to see you. Welcome to the Canadian Expat Global Canada Day celebration. Super excited that you've been able to join us. We started just over 2 hours ago, and we've been welcoming people from all around the world. So glad that you're here. Tell us in the live chat, where are you located? We'd love to hear that, because we've seen people from Japan and from Dubai and Doha, France, Hong Kong. I'd love to know where you're located. And if you get an opportunity, in the description of the video, there's a Zoom link. So please hit that Zoom link. Would love to speak with you and find out exactly what you're up to, and find out how you're celebrating your Canada Day, because a lot of events around the world have unfortunately canceled, which is upsetting, but we all understand why that is, and would love to know what you've been doing for Canada Day. And is there anything special that you're doing? Any special food that you're having? Been taking kind of an ad hoc poll. It seems like poutine has become a kind of a common thread amongst Canadians around the world, which is kind of exciting how poutine has grown as it has over the last little while. Would like to, at this point, recognize that we're broadcasting from southern Vancouver Island, which is, in this particular area, is the unceded territory of the Songhees Nation. Would recognize that. And one question that we have, and would love to chat with you, whether it be through Zoom or through the live chat, is about First Nations culture, and how is that being conveyed abroad, and does the Canadian expat community have a role to play in conveying that information? I work in tourism here in Victoria normally. And of course, we get visitors from all around the world, which is fantastic. Very few of those visitors that do come to Canada are aware of First Nations culture. So the question is there a role that Canadian expat community, the 2.8 million Canadians that live around the world, is there an opportunity to mobilize that community to help spread, I guess, an awareness of that culture? Just because I think something that we report here at the Canadian Expat, that we believe very strongly that Canadian expats have are uniquely situated to be able to support Canadian values abroad simply by speaking with friends, neighbors, colleagues, and family. That's all that's necessary. And we can create incredible awareness for Canadian culture and Canadian values. And Canadian business as well. Many of you are aware and are involved in Canadian business around the world. And it is the strength of the Canadian expat community that I believe can really propel a lot of those businesses even further. And we'd love to be able to hear from you how you're doing, what you're doing. How are you involved? Are you involved in business? How are you involved with Canada? What are you personally doing to support Canada, whether it be culturally by talking about Canadian products or Canadian artists and Canadian culture, or economically? Are you doing anything on the business side? Are you helping perhaps a company in the area that you live bring something from Canada, or maybe sell something from the area that you live in Canada? Let us know. We'd love to know exactly what you're doing. Oh, somebody. There you go. Hello? Hi there.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Welcome.
Good. Could you hear me before? Because we couldn't hear anything.
I could not hear you. No. I could see you, but I could not hear you.
So the difference was phone or laptop.
Oh, I see. Sometimes you have to enable the audio as well. If in some cases, in other cases, it automatically clicks onto audio. But anyway, welcome. Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day to you too.
Where are you?
I'm in Kuwait.
Oh, fantastic. Great.
Yeah.
It must be nice and cool right now.
Although the temperatures were similar to Canada for a little while there.
Oh, is that right? Oh, you're frozen. You froze. There you go. You froze, unfortunately. We lost somebody. Oh no. I can't. Such is technology. We'd love to have you back. It was for anybody that just joined us, welcome. If you do get an opportunity to click, oh, there we go. She's coming back. Flipping knitter. Hi there. So it looks like we're just waiting. Somebody's trying to log on here and communicate with us. It's just rebooting. Okay, there you go. All right. So for anybody else, it looks like somebody's having a little bit of technical difficulty, but if you have an opportunity to join us on Zoom, please do so. All you have to do is just click on the link in the description of the video and we'll admit you. Would love to see you and speak with you here as well. Or you can always communicate with us during the live chat. We'll try to balance the two. For all those that are just joining, welcome. So excited to see you. Happy Canada Day 2020 to everybody. Super excited that you're here. If you can see, of course, this is our Zoom feed, and we've got, of course, YouTube here. And we're trying to do both simultaneously. And as far as I know, this is the world's first attempt to do a global Canadian Canada Day, or Canadian Canada Day. Is there any other Canada Day? Sorry, the first global Canada Day. Please let me know if I'm incorrect. If there is any other global Canada Day, I've been telling everybody that this is the world's first, and I might be wrong. And let us know where you're from. Oh, there we go. Somebody's joining us through Zoom. There we go.
We're back.
They're back. Hallelujah. Good to see you. So it's been warm, of course, in Kuwait.
Yeah, but not as warm as usual.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I guess the whole COVID clean air,
Oh, it's amazing.
you know, yes.
Hey, happy Canada Day. How are things in Kuwait?
Starting to open up, even though they shouldn't.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a common story around the world. Here in Canada, things are starting to open up as well. Located in Victoria, and things are opening up slowly here. We've been fortunate on the Vancouver Island. We've had very few cases of COVID-19, and the last little while it's only been a couple. There we go. Welcome.
Hi.
Happy Canada Day. Fantastic. So we've been fortunate here on Vancouver Island. I think there's only one case or two cases right now that are active. So which is great. We've been fortunate, but things are starting to open up. But for those people that are in the tourism industry, it's going to be a long haul before things get up and running for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like our airport's going to open on August 1st for commercial traffic.
For commercial, okay.
Home.
Oh, right,
Go
okay.
home,
Okay.
but there's no commercial traffic. But Europe doesn't want anybody from this region.
Right.
So I don't know if we can cheat and say we got lost on our way to Europe and we are coming through Kuwait because we got lost on our way. But we can't go to Europe otherwise. And to go home for 3 weeks, we'd have to spend 2 weeks in quarantine and then only 1 week trying to see the whole country and all our family. So
right. And where are you from in Canada?
We came from Calgary.
From Calgary,
That's
okay.
all.
Right, okay. Yeah.
I actually thought you would be from New Zealand because you put the New Zealand time in the post.
Right. Yeah. So no. So I'm located in Victoria. So 10 p.m. Victoria is when we started, and we chose that time because it seemed like it was, New Zealand would be kind of the first country,
Yeah.
right, to start celebrating Canada Day, right, and 5 p.m. would be a good time. So I did, yes, enter New Zealand in the description, but just because that would be the first place that I think would join. But I'm surprised we've had people from all over the world, very excited. Some from Canada as well, but France, and you're the first from Kuwait, but we've had from Doha and Dubai as well, and yeah, it's been great. It's fantastic. We're everywhere. Well, there's 2.8 million Canadians living around the world, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah. It's still
back there.
So in general, though, I mean, things are going well for you in Kuwait. Any plans for Canada Day other than this?
It's a work day here.
Oh, it's a work, of course.
Yeah. We have a flag hanging off the balcony, but we live on a very quiet street, so I don't know if anybody will actually notice.
All right. Okay.
I took a picture and posted it, and I reposted it, so I've got some likes, but they're from Canada. So.
All right. Okay.
Just I'd say the only plan is trying to connect with family back home.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Family is spread from Newfoundland to Calgary.
All right. Yeah. And just try to catch up with people, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's been quiet here, as you can imagine. Victoria normally is everywhere in Canada is busy during Canada Day, but Victoria is bustling, right? It's fantastic, great fireworks, it's amazing, but not this year. Not this year. This is it.
With the airport opening up on August 1st, it was sort of a false sense of joy. We had been talking about a trip to Greece before the pandemic.
Right.
So we said, oh, okay, things are opening up. Yay, let's start looking at Greece. And then GCC countries are not on the list that are available to go into Europe right now. So scratch that. And as Jody said, if we go home, or most other places that would accept visitors, you're looking at a 14-day quarantine. So, and then to come back, the government has said, they haven't provided all the details yet, but that returning residents will require a PCR test done within 4 days of arriving, and it has to be in Arabic. So where do we go?
Where do we go? So we'll go to Arab-speaking countries only, probably.
Don't know.
If we go anywhere.
Right.
But, I'm sure other people are in much worse situations than we are. We've been Kuwait handled it very well initially. And the only issues that they're having really now is that the locals don't want to play. They don't want to stay home. If they're infected, they're out going to visit their families because they're very family-oriented people.
Right.
And they're not stopping that. They're not stopping that for any old virus. And of course, they're spreading it like wildfire.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to watch how information has transformed in what's been reported and the changing in I guess you call it the demographics. Because in the beginning, it started with locals returning from Iran.
Right.
And then everybody was quarantined. And then it started to get into the community, and there's some very high density populated areas, and that's where it sort of exploded or started to explode. So the reporting was on nationalities. And,
right. Okay.
And finger pointing.
So
right.
With the lockdown and the high density, a lot of things surfaced in the country, and one of those things was almost microscopic analysis and view of expats, the numbers, illegals, and so they started an amnesty program, which would allow anybody who was in the country and their visa has expired to legitimately leave the country and not have to pay fines, and they could go to their home country. And this sort of put the spotlight on foreign nationals and certain nationalities and the numbers.
Right.
So in the beginning, it was the Indian nationality that seemed to be catching all the attention and the big numbers. Well, as they have put fences around certain neighborhoods.
Oh, seriously? Oh.
Put National Guards, special forces controlling traffic in and out, and that's been ongoing now for
It's almost 3 months,
3 months
in a couple of the neighborhoods. And
Wow.
there's people from his company that live in that neighborhood. We lived in that neighborhood actually when we first moved here, right? And it's a big mixture of people, and they're just trying to keep this one nationality closed in, but they're trapping all these, I heard there was 400,000 people in the neighborhood.
Well, that would be total between the three now.
Well, anyway,
and we've heard news similar to that, where the situation has given a rise to, as you had mentioned, finger pointing, and that's led to discrimination and blatant racism, right, in a lot of countries, right, towards other people, even neighbors, right, in terms of countries, right. So it's rough, and I think my guess, and this is purely speculation, but if there's anything that's going to be I guess remnants or leftovers from this whole pandemic in a year or 2 years, even after everything starts to get back to normal, I think there's going to be some hurt feelings, right? I mean, I think a lot of things can be forgotten, and humans tend to forget very quickly some of the rough things that you go through. But a lot of those sort of things aren't forgotten necessarily very quickly, right? There's a lot of bad memories, right? And I think it could be ugly for a bit.
Well, I'll just finish my little demographic story. Is that now, like when the new cases are reported on a daily basis, they're in the order of 600 to 800, 900.
Oh, really? Okay.
Per day. And I did. So you watch the numbers, but for me it was how many tests are done every day, because you could easily see when the curve started coming down, and you check and you see, well, the number of tests are also going down. So but the percentage of positive cases was consistent, anywhere from 20 to 25%.
Oh, really?
Yesterday, forget the exact number, but it was approximately 600, let's say, and the percentage based on the testing was looking at 16.5%, which is a drop from 20 to 24 range.
Mm.
And the reporting, as I was talking about in the beginning, they've stopped breaking down the nationalities, and now it's Kuwait and all others. And Kuwaitis are getting close to a 2-to-1 ratio now with being positive. So going back to what Jody said, and what has been repeated in local Twitter accounts, newspapers, is that, you know, people, you need to stop social, go and doing your visiting.
And then yesterday they opened up all the malls.
Right.
Because it's so hot, you can't go. They open the parks as well, but it's too hot to go and enjoy the parks. So if you want to go for a walk during the day, and we still have curfew. Curfew starts at 8 o'clock at night now.
8 to 5 a.m.
Till 5 a.m. So you can only go out during the day. You gotta go to the mall.
We've been, our cycle of curfew started out like 9 p.m. to
4 a.m.
to 4 a.m. and then it closed to 6 to 6, and then we had 3 weeks of 100% curfew.
The whole country.
Yeah.
Really?
And then,
yeah.
So one of the things that has worked, I feel pretty good, is they set up a website where you would log in and get a QR code, save that to your phone, and this is your pass to go to the grocery store.
Interesting.
And yeah.
So you could shop after curfew hours or during curfew hours if you had one of these passes.
So you got 2 passes or 2 QR codes. One was for you to be out during the curfew, and the second one was admittance to the specific grocery store that you selected.
Oh, wow.
In the beginning, when it was full 100% curfew, the choices of places to go shop were just within your neighborhood. And since the full curfew has been relaxed, so with phase 1, which happened almost, just over 3 weeks ago, the choices now have expanded, so we could go to the one that we would, our first choice, let's say.
We can go anywhere except the 3 neighborhoods that are still locked down. The people that were in lockdown were actually allowed out when it was full curfew, but then they weren't allowed out because it was full curfew. So,
right.
Right. So some people haven't worked since March. Some people have worked since March and haven't been paid since March.
Right.
And there's protests now, and you get 100,000 hungry people in a very small area, and there's a recipe for potential problems there. So initially, like I said, Kuwait did handle it. They locked us in pretty quickly. They closed the airports. They made sure, there was plenty of food for everybody. They made sure like all the Kuwaiti citizens got to basically stay home and get full pay since March. So starting today, or yesterday actually, only 30% of the workforce is supposed to be going back to work in the office, but none of them want to do that. Like, why would you when you've gotten full pay for doing nothing for 4 months, right?
Wow. Yeah.
I'll keep the positive spin on this, which is that it has definitely highlighted how good it is to live in Canada.
Yeah.
We watch CTV News every evening.
Right. Oh, good.
So it's 11 o'clock in Toronto at that time. So we're not getting the nightly news, but we're getting the whatever happens during the day kind of thing. And we've seen, I don't know how many weeks of it is the Prime Minister, telling the Canadians what he's, the money for this, the money for that. And every time he comes out with a really big number, I'm like, oh man, he won Lotto Max last night. handing the money out like there's no tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Well, as of course, my full-time occupation is I work in hotels here in Victoria, and although hotels are starting to open up now, I'm in group sales, which, as you can imagine, group sales will be the last thing to recover in Victoria, certainly. So I've been out of work since March, but really super thankful for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, the CERB. That's $2,000 a month that I would not have been able to get otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So super thankful for it, and it's been able to me to do things like this, right? So which is great.
Yeah.
So, and super thankful, yeah. And this has been so much fun. I love doing what we've been doing. So
in comparison, when the lockdowns came and businesses were told to close, etc., Kuwaiti citizens received full pay.
Wow.
If they were required to go to work, they got double pay because it was officially declared as a public holiday.
Wow.
And but then you turn to the private industry, all of the shops in the malls, the restaurants, all of those people. There was no safety net.
Right.
So if you're a citizen, you're looked after.
Right.
If you're an expat and you're a resident, you're not. And that's the biggest thing that, it's now been quite evident for me, is that in Canada, if you're a resident, you're a resident. It doesn't matter what your nationality is. You're legally, there in the country, and you will receive the same benefits as a national.
Mm.
But not here.
Mm. And are both of you? You're currently employed. I get you're working. You're able to. Okay, good. Okay.
I have a company in Canada until later today. Actually, we're in the process of shutting it down.
Oh, okay.
Because we were living in Alberta, I was working for First Nations up in the Fort McMurray area.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So when the price of oil started going down in 2016, I guess, the work slowed down quite a bit. But I did bring the company over here when we came, and I have been busy, but I haven't up until like November. I haven't worked since November. Right?
Interesting.
But again, we're here, right? So
yeah.
It's no biggie, and it's not like I couldn't continue to work even though I shut the company down. I could still work if they wanted me for something.
Yeah.
So,
Different invoicing, tracking, paying, etc.
But there's like a lot of, I don't know if you were incorporated or if you work for a company, but there's a lot of paperwork that you don't get paid for if you have your own business, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
March 2nd, we came back from a little vacation, and then there was all of this. You got to go to quarantine. You got to go get testing, and then it was so dynamic, but turns out we didn't have to do anything. And then it was the 29th of March. I was put on the non-essential list, so told to go work from home.
Okay.
And for a while, I would go into the office for our management meeting, and then the full curfew came, and of course you couldn't travel, and it's cabin fever. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to describe it. And so now I'm back to going into the office.
Okay.
2 days a week. One is for professional social interaction with adults. You're an adult. And the other part is
you're going to get in trouble. You better be careful.
Yeah, that's not And the other part is I host a Microsoft Teams meeting on a regular basis, and the infrastructure we have here at home doesn't stand up all the time. So
Okay.
It's pretty good here until everybody comes home from work and school, and then it's like
yeah, the
brutal.
bandwidth.
The bandwidth's
is-
like non-existent at that point.
I bet. Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining. This has been amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's and it's
Fortunately, we're in the time zone where everybody's asleep, right?
well, that's it's we're getting closer. It's I guess 12:30 here now, but it's been good. We haven't had like a huge number of people at any given time, but since we started, it's been steady since. It's been 10 to 15 people kind of steady right through for the last couple hours, which has been great. So it's been fantastic.
Are you going to stay up for the whole 24 hours?
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And
How many coffees have you had?
well, none yet. I'm holding out for later on when I really need it, but it's just water so far. That's all I've been drinking right now, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm not so much worried about staying awake as I am my throat holding out. I'm already it's already starting to feel a bit sore, and it's only been 2.5 hours. I've got
Maybe a little honey and lemon and warm water or something, just to.
I think so. That might be good. But
or maybe we can't have one, so could you have one for us?
oh yeah. I will for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pardon me?
And some bacon.
And the bacon. Oh yeah. Maybe bacon and sausage, pork sausage, and
Yeah, sausage, yeah. My Facebook memories came up today, and it was from camping, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I took a picture of the frying pan. It was filled with sausages and bacon and everything. I was like, oh, that's just mean.
Well, it was the first trip I went back to Calgary.
Yes.
We went shopping at the Superstore.
Right.
And I picked up a large batch of contact lenses. So because the eye store was part of the Superstore, and they had the special on where if you spend a certain amount, you get a little gift coupon. The gift coupon was for 2 1-kilogram packages of bacon.
oh, geez.
And I only had a week and a half.
And I'd already bought him 2 different kinds of bacon because I knew he was coming. So he
Got rid of the 2.5.
He gave one to your brother.
I gave my brother 1 kilogram.
And he cooked up some of the bacon, and he went. The reason he came to Canada was to pick up our cat, and he was going to take our cat or bring our cat here. And so he cooked up the bacon and ate the last bit of bacon in the Amsterdam airport before I got on the plane to Kuwait.
That's awesome.
Oh. Yeah, things you do, right?
things you do. It's fantastic. Well,
Anyway, go.
I gotta go back to work.
all
in the
right.
hall.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for joining. It's been fantastic.
Nice chatting with you. Happy Canada
Happy
Day.
Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day to you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Okay.